Arrow, what was your question?
Oh yeah, I just want to ask what do you think formally constitutes the Son?
You said what formally constitutes the son?
Yeah.
It's gonna be like filiation, being the son.
Okay, affiliation. So, and you affirm the Florentine axiom, right?
Which is what?
Which is just saying that whatever is in God, where there is no opposition, is one.
Yeah.
Okay. So, would you say that there's an opposition between filiation and passive spiration?
Between filiation and act and passive spiration.
Yeah.
Um, you mean when you say filiation, do you mean like passive, like where the
Yeah,
son
passive
receives an
generation.
opportunity? No, I wouldn't necessarily say that.
Okay. So you would say that passive spiration and passive generation don't have any opposition?
No, you wouldn't say that they have opposition as the acts themselves, but you would have to say based off of the subjects. But there
Okay.
would be something.
So what formally constitutes the Son and what formally constitutes the Spirit, there's no opposition between?
So what formally constitutes the spirit is going to be spiration.
Yeah, passive spiration, right?
Yes.
And what formally constitutes the Son is passive generation, right?
Yeah, filiation.
Okay. So, and you said there's no opposition between passive generation and passive spiration.
No, because they're just going to be the acts. You wouldn't say that there's going to be a relation of opposition between the acts. They would be the persons who have the acts.
But you said where there's no opposition in God, it's one. So you're saying that there's two sons.
No, that doesn't even follow.
Okay. Yeah, how does that not follow?
So that would follow. Well, technically speaking, it wouldn't be two sons. You would just say, we kind of say two sons because it would have to be the same act, basically. So
You said
what's
you
going to
kind of say two sons? What do you mean by that?
because that's our argument against you guys. So that's why we say that, because you wouldn't be able to distinguish the persons otherwise, because the acts
So
are.
that's just a tu quoque. I'm asking.
No,
I don't affirm the
so
Florentine axiom.
I'm specifying why I said that. I'm not saying that. Oh, you guys have to say this.
So yeah, that's just a tu quoque, though. I want you to actually address why
That's
the
not.
constitution of the
That wasn't
Spirit.
me answering the argument, so it's not a two quote.
Yes, so just answer the argument.
Okay, so I'll answer the argument, but I was specifying why I said that. So, because the act of the intellect and the act of spiration is not going to be really distinct, because they're both just going to be the essence that's possessed by the persons, you wouldn't say that there's a real distinction between the acts. You would say there's a real distinction between the persons that do the acts. That's why there's going to be a real distinction between the Holy Spirit and the Son, because there's a real distinction between passive spiration and active spiration.
Yeah, so you said that where there's no opposition in something in God, it's one. So if you're saying what formally constitutes the Son, which is passive generation, and you're saying what formally constitutes the Spirit is passive spiration, then you're saying those two terminuses are reducible.
Yeah, they're not distinguished by those acts. They're distinguished by the relations of opposition. So it's mixing up what the notional acts are, and then
That's fine. So I can grant that I'm not arguing that the Son and Spirit aren't distinct persons. I'm arguing that it's not a distinct terminus.
what?
Yeah, passive filiation and passive generation. Or sorry, passive spiration and passive filiation.
Yeah, because they don't even signify a term. You're mixing up the
You
notional
don't think
acts.
passive filiation is a terminus?
When we say filiation, you're specifically talking about the acts. The terminus is going to be the person. So you're
Which is passive generation, right? The terminus of active generation is
going to
passive
be
generation.
the person, yeah. But
which is the person. Passive
what you're
generation
saying, hold on, what you're saying is the equivalent of like saying that, oh yeah, the spirit is going to be distinct solely because he's not filiation. And we say that he's distinct because he comes forth from the Son and the Father.
Well, no, that's not what I asked. So that's not even the contention. I'm not arguing you can't distinguish the Spirit from the Son. I'm arguing that you can't distinguish what formally constitutes the Son and the Spirit.
Yeah, you can, because spiration comes forth from the Father and Son. That's why they're distinct.
That doesn't tell me how the terminus is different. That just tells me how many people, how many persons are participating in the act.
No, because you can't produce yourself. That's where the distinction lies.
What does that have to do with anything?
Because when we say a relation of opposition, what's already going to be entailed is that there's going to be some sort of notional act that comes forth from a subject and then has a terminus.
Yeah, that's fine, but that's not actually addressing anything.
Yeah, so the terminus of passive spiration, that's just going to be the sun, right?
The terminus of passive spiration is the sun?
Well, the terminus of active, active affiliation. Affiliation is just going to be the sun. And the terminus of active spiration is going to be passive spiration. It's going to be the sun, the spirit.
Right, that's what I said. Okay, so the terminus of passive spiration, is passive spiration opposed to passive generation?
No, only insofar as it's the person, which is going to be the term.
Okay, so passive generation and passive spiration aren't opposed to each other.
No.
Okay, so they're one.
Yeah, unless you're talking about the persons.
Okay, so is passive generation identical to the sun?
Passive, yeah.
Okay, so and passive spiration is identical to the spirit, right?
The same way that you would say that the essence is identical to the sun.
What is that? No, I don't. That's not even like analogous.
It is, because when you're saying identical, you don't understand that we're positing a virtual distinction between these things.
Okay, so prior to the intellect is passive generation the sun?
Prior to the intellect?
Yeah.
It's going to end with the sun. So yeah.
No, so passive generation is the sun, right? And active generation is the Father producing the sun, right? Begetting the sun.
Yeah.
The terminus of that act is the Son himself, which is passive generation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the terminus of active spiration is the Spirit, right? And you said there's no opposition between passive generation and passive spiration.
Okay, but you understand that
the terminus is one.
You understand that active spiration comes from. Okay, when you're talking about the notional acts, it's not going to be the terminus.
Yeah, I'm talking about passive generation and passive spiration.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the productive act.
So if you're talking about the persons, i.e., what terminates them is going to be because one spirates the other. That's what's going to be the distinction.
Yeah. So I'm not asking about the distinction between the Son and Spirit. I'm asking about the distinction between what formally constitutes the Son and Spirit.
Yeah, that's going to be spiration.
Okay. So is there an opposition between passive spiration and passive generation?
If you're talking about the person of the Son spirating the Spirit, then yeah.
The passive generation isn't the person of the Son spirating the Spirit.
You said what?
Passive generation isn't the Son spirating the Spirit. That's the Son being begotten. That's the terminus of active generation.
Okay.
So I'm asking if the formal constituent of the Son, which you said is passive generation, if there's an opposition between that and passive spiration, which is the formal constituent of the Spirit.
If you're talking about it as the Son, then yes, it's going to be because of spiration.
So, but spiration isn't identical to passive generation, is it?
What do you mean identical?
Yeah. So are they reducible? Are they one?
No, they're different persons.
Because active spiration isn't what formally constitutes the Son, right? Okay. So we're talking about we're talking about what formally constitutes them. So I ask you, is passive generation opposed to passive spiration? And you said no.
Okay. What makes them distinguished is because of the spiration. So whenever you mention...
I'm not asking about what distinguishes the persons.
I get what you're saying, but when you're saying passive generation, you can say that there's going to be no distinguishing prior to what you would say is spiration, because it's going to be virtually contained in the Son.
Oh, that's not even the contention. So I'm asking...
But I'm telling you why it is the contention, because if you're just talking about the logical order of things, you're going to say, okay, yeah, the Father's first and then the Son's going to be second, which is going to be passive generation. Of course, there's not going to be any distinction because the Spirit isn't, quote unquote, spirated yet. So there's not going to be a distinction. It is, because there's not going to be a distinction until there's a spiration.
the logical ordering of things. I'm talking about the terminus of the act. So what formally constitutes the spirit is passive spiration, and what formally constitutes the son is passive generation. And there is no opposition between those two terms, right?
Yeah, because there wouldn't be an act of spiration yet. Because when you're saying...
So is there passive spiration after the spirit has been terminated?
Is there passive spiration after the spirit has been terminated? Yes.
Oh, no, passive generation. So when the spirit is formally constituted in logical ordering, right? When the spirit has been spirated, is there still passive generation?
Yes.
So passive generation isn't only prior to the production of the spirit.
You said
that's
what?
Passive generation isn't only prior to the production of the spirit, so that's not addressing the point.
What do you mean isn't only prior?
Yeah, so you're arguing that the reason that you can't have an opposition between passive generation and passive spiration is because the spirit hasn't terminated yet. But passive spiration is the terminus of the spirit. And you just said passive generation is still in existence after the spirit has been terminated. So that's not actually dealing with the point.
Yeah, because the son doesn't lose the power of spiration.
Well, we're not talking about losing the power. We're talking about passive generation.
Yeah. So when you're considering these things, because all you're doing is considering it based off of the mind. That's why it's called a logical priority. So when you're considering these things, you have to consider them with some sort of logical order. So when you're saying passive generation or whatever you're saying, that's going to entail that filiation is given to the son. That is not how we're going to be saying that, oh yeah, there's another person called the spirit. Because all you're saying is that, yeah, it's going to be virtually contained in that son because it's passed from the father. Now, what makes them distinct, the spirit and the son, is going to be that act of spiration. That's how you make the distinction in your mind. Because there has to be active spiration and passive spiration.
I'm not contending against that.
Then I don't know what the issue is.
I'm telling you, what formally constitutes the son is not opposed to what formally constitutes the spirit. That's the contention.
So you're just saying being the son.
Yeah, so passive generation is what formally constitutes the son, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's being the son.
Passive spiration is what formally constitutes the spirit, right?
Okay.
Okay. So passive spiration is not opposed to passive generation, correct?
Okay.
Okay. So then those acts are one. What formally constitutes the son and what formally constitutes the spirit are one, because there's no opposition.
No. So, okay. When you're talking about passive spiration, you're automatically going to be considering that the spiration comes from the son.
Yeah, so you said when you're talking about passive spiration, that's just talking about the terminus of the spirit, of active spiration, which is the spirit.
Yes. Which has to come from a person.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's the same way. It's just
we're not talking about active spiration being distinguished from passive spiration.
Hold on. It's the same way that when you think of the Father and you say that filiation, right, is not distinct from spiration. And it's not distinct, which means that there's not two different persons of the Father because of spiration and filiation.
You said what?
Okay, so when you think of the Father, the person of the Father, he has both filiation, right? Paternity, my bad. He has both paternity and he has active spiration. Those things are not opposed to each other, okay?
Yeah, that's why I don't believe the Father is formally constituted by paternity. I believe the Father is formally constituted by productive power or fecundity.
But fecundity just has to do with like the ability of a nature to be able to produce something.
Do you think the Son is produced by the nature?
Yes, and by which the Father uses. So then he has to use the nature. There's no other way to do that.
Is there a principle by which the is just going to be a natural energy or a natural operation?
What do you mean a natural operation?
So you know it, like, have you read St. Gregory of Nyssa?
Which work though?
Like any of his works where he speaks about natural operation, the operation of God being one.
Are you talking about like the energies, like after, or like what are you talking about, the imminent acts, or what?
No, I'm talking about just insofar as God's operation being one. So I'm asking if the Son is produced by a natural operation.
You're gonna have to specify like which letter you're talking about, so I can know
Like
what you're
he
talking
speaks about it on that.
It's ad Graikos.
Yeah.
Regrafnisa.
about. And which specific section?
I mean, have you not?
Well,
I mean, this is literally what he argues as to why there's only one God, because there's one natural operation.
Yeah, but a natural operation can just be one energy, i.e., just one act of the essence.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm asking. So, is the Son produced by an act of the essence?
No,
I mean,
not in that way.
In what way?
It's going to be an imminent act. It's not going to be.
So it is an act
transient.
of the essence, right? It's just not a transient act of the essence.
Correct. That's
Okay.
literally why people like Saint Cyril say that it's he's of the essence
That's not.
or
That
from
doesn't.
the essence.
So you think that the Spirit, the Son, is begotten by the principle, which is the essence?
Okay, so there's going to be the principle that which and the principle by which. So the
I'm
principle
aware.
that which is going to be the Father.
Right, and the principle by which, right, is the. So you think the principle by which the Son is begotten is going to be the it's going to be the essence,
Which we properly would call using his paternity, it's going to be filiation. So it's going to be the essence by the mode of the Father or the condition of the Father.
So the Son is produced by natural energy.
I mean, if that lines up to what I was just saying.
So you think the Son's produced by natural energy?
It's not a transient act; it's an imminent act.
That doesn't change anything. That means that it's proper to the essence.
It's proper to the person who has the essence. He uses the essence. How else do you think he produces?
Yeah,
you think
so
he produces out of his personhood?
I think that the Father's hypostasis complements the conditions that are provided by the essence. I don't think the essence is a principle by which the Father produces.
Hold on. And when you say complements the principles of the essence, what do you mean by that?
I didn't say complements the principles of the essence. I said his hypostasis complements the conditions that are met by the essence. Okay?
And what are those conditions of the essence?
So the Father complements them by being wholly active. So causality, right? Given the fact that the Father's formal constituent is fecundity, then obviously it's going to be the case that the Father has the power to produce.
What does he produce using?
What does that mean? What is that saying?
How does he produce?
Yeah,
You think he just doesn't use the essence?
So I think there's a difference between conditions which are provided for something and a principle of something. So if you're talking about the principle by which, obviously that's going to be invoking some kind of energetic operation or natural energy. I don't think the Son's produced by natural energy. I think that's blasphemous to say that.
Okay, I get what you're saying it's not, but what is it? You didn't answer the question.
What do you mean by that? What is what?
How does he produce?
Yeah, his hypostasis.
So his hypostasis has some power that's different than the essence?
Do you think that... Wait,
is it different than the essence?
I don't think it's... What do you mean by different than the essence?
Because you're saying it's some productive power that's going to be different than the essence.
Do you think producing a person is an adequate act?
Brother, that's not my question. I'm asking
if you think it's an adequate act.
That's not... Can you answer my question? Because you literally just said that he's doing it out of his person. So what power does the person have that the essence doesn't, or that he doesn't get from the essence?
Yeah, so again, there's a distinction between the conditions which are provided by something and the principle by which something is done.
You didn't answer how he's coming from the Father.
I'm asking if you think, just to be clear, do you think that begetting or filiation is an adequate act?
When you say it, okay, here's why I'm asking you, because I asked you, how is he producing? You're saying it's from his person. And you're saying that as distinguished,
from the Father. Yeah.
It's from his personhood. And that's distinct. That's really distinct from the essence.
What do you mean by real? I don't believe the Father's really distinct from the essence.
Okay, so then how is he doing it?
But it depends
So is he
on what you
using
mean
his
by a real
essence?
distinction.
What do you mean it
Do you mean-
depends?
Do you just mean a real distinction as in prior to intellection, or what do you mean by real distinction?
Yeah, I'm asking you, how does he produce the person? You're saying
You said really
you're saying it's not
distinct,
this
so I'm
person.
asking what you mean by real distinction.
Yeah. Prior to I'm asking you, how does he produce the son?
So you're just saying prior to intellect, right? That's all you mean by real distinction?
Yeah, something that's going to be like, because there's different types of real distinctions.
Yeah,
So I don't know
what I'm asking. When you invoke the term real distinction, what do you mean by it?
I'm asking, I don't know what you mean by it.
I didn't say it. You used the term.
Yeah, okay. The reason I'm using the term is because you're saying that it's a hypostatic property and it has nothing to do with the essence.
I didn't say that.
So what is the relation of this hypostatic property and the essence?
The relation of the what do you mean by that?
Like how are they tied? Like what's the connection between
How
these
are
two
they
things?
tied?
Yeah, what's the connection
That's just a
between
bunch of buzzwords. I don't know what you mean by that.
You don't know what it means when I say how do they relate to each other?
No, I don't know what you mean when you say how is the essence tied to the Father's productive power.
What is the purpose? Okay, what does the essence do in the production of the Son?
The essence doesn't do anything.
So it's just okay.
Essences don't do anything. Do you think the essence begets the Son?
So when you say the essence doesn't do anything, right? The Father does something, but the essence doesn't do it?
Do you think the essence does something?
Brother, just answer the question, please. Just answer the question.
Well, I don't think essences do things.
Okay, so the essence doesn't do something, but the Father does. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think the essence does anything.
Brother, can you answer the question? Is the
That's
Father
an answer to the
something?
question.
So, okay.
Saying
so
the essence
Father
doesn't do anything is an answer to the question.
So the Father does something and the essence doesn't.
I don't think the essence is able to do anything.
That's okay. So but the Father does something, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So you have something that's doing something and another thing that's not doing anything.
I don't think the essence is I don't think the essence is another thing.
Okay, then how are you saying that one is acting and the other one isn't?
Well, I don't believe the essence acts. Do you think the essence acts?
The person acts by means of the essence.
I didn't ask that. You said what does the essence do?
What do you mean?
You said you asked me what does the essence do in relation to begetting the Son? And I said I don't think the essence does anything.
And what do you think I meant by that?
I don't know what you meant by that. That's why I asked you.
Okay,
and then you
so
didn't answer.
When I'm asking you what does it do, I'm asking you what role does it play in this?
I don't know what does it mean for the essence to have a role?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you know how like when I say that we have the Father who is the principle that which, and then there's a principle by which, and the Father.
I don't believe the principle by which is doing something.
I'm trying to explain so maybe you can understand. All right. The Father has the essence in a particular way. And because of the particular way in which he has that essence, he can use that essence in order to produce a person.
Okay, so you said he can use the essence in order to produce the person.
Yes, because the essence is going to be the principle by which something operates.
Okay, so
and it's going to have the power that does this.
Okay,
but you just said it doesn't. You said the Father does, but yet at the same time you said that it's not the same thing as the essence.
When you say the Father uses the essence, are you saying that the essence is some instrument by which the Father produces the Son?
What do you mean instrument? Like something else?
Well, yeah.
No, it's not something else.
Right. So when you say he uses the essence, what is that saying?
I'm just using like regular type of language to say that the Father, by his essence, produces the Son. Like you're literally just trying to go around basic language.
No, I'm not going around basic language. I'm asking what you mean when you say the Father uses the essence.
I think it's like kind of clear that you're dodging this because you're literally saying,
well, no, you started
the Father
critiquing my position about productive power instead of addressing the fact that the Son is formally constituted by something which is not.
I already addressed that. You just said that it's a hypostatic property of the Father that has nothing to do with the essence.
Yeah, no, I didn't say so. I said the essence provides the conditions right?
It provides the conditions.
Yeah.
Meaning what? Explain what it means to
Meaning
provide
that
the
the
conditions.
Father has this productive power, okay, as him
From
being
where?
his person is wholly active, and those conditions are provided by him having the divine essence.
So the essence provides him with the power to do what?
So provides him with the power. I don't know what you mean by that. So I said it provides the conditions.
And what are these conditions?
Yeah, so the Father is directed towards intellect and will.
And intellect and will are what?
The Son and Spirit.
No, what is intellect and will?
What do you mean by that?
Are these productive acts? What are they?
Yeah, obviously they're productive acts. What?
Okay, so the essence provides the Father
The conditions, sure.
with the
That doesn't mean it's a
productive
principle. That doesn't mean it's a principle by
That's
way.
literally the same freaking thing.
So you
I'm
think
saying,
conditions and principles are the same thing?
brother? The conditions have to do with how the person uses, or well, since you don't like uses, the condition has to do with how the principle by which is expressed. Basically, that's literally all that means.
So all you
You
take a
don't-
principle by which to mean is just the conditions are met.
The principle, okay.
The conditions are
You said,
provided.
you know how when you said that the essence provides the Father with the conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's
all.
that's all you mean. That's all you think that means.
What else would that mean? What would that mean to you?
Yeah. So I don't think that means that it's an act of the essence. But when you say that there's something which is a principle by which, you're saying it's an act that is from the essence. I don't think that's the case.
Okay, when I say from the essence, I mean literally that.
Which is why you said that the sun is produced from natural energy, by the way.
Okay, the reason I say that is because, of course, it's from the person of the Father. But the church fathers, like when you read Cyril and all these people, they say he's from the essence of the Father, from the essence of the Son.
Yeah,
because they're
but that's-
listing, hold on. Because they're listing both the principle that and the principle by
Now you're
which.
asserting your metaphysics into this.
I don't.
Again,
I'm telling you what I mean. I don't care about what your metaphysics is. I'm
I said
explaining.
you're
what I'm
asserting
saying.
your metaphysics. I'm not bringing up my
That's
metaphysics.
cool, but explain.
It's
the
cool that you're
difference
asserting your
between-
metaphysics.
You're asserting yours. It's irrelevant. I'm
Where
just.
did I assert my metaphysics?
Brother,
I was critiquing your position about the Filioque, and then you started asking about my position about productive powers because you didn't have a response.
is that illegal? I literally responded already. Like, is that
You didn't
illegal?
respond. You already agreed that passive generation and passive spiration are one.
Like, so you're just gonna act like I didn't answer all this stuff already, and that you couldn't.
So are passive generation and passive spiration one?
Brother, I already explained this.
No, you didn't. You didn't address it.
So you want me to explain it again?
You didn't
I
address
can
it.
if you didn't get it the first time.
So the answer you gave to the question was that the sun is produced by natural energy.
But I thought you said I didn't explain it. So which one is it?
Yeah. So I'm saying you didn't actually explain how passive spiration is distinct from passive generation.
Passive spiration and passive generation. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, I'll just explain again then. So, when you're considering the persons, there's a logical priority. When we're talking about filiation, right, or passive generation, that's just going to specifically be talking about the reception of what the Father does, i.e., from paternity. Those are literally just going to be what we call the notional acts or relations, right? So the relations come from the notional acts because the notional acts are going to be what we call the foundation of these relations, all right? So when you're just talking about these two relations, that's not what distinguishes them. What distinguishes them is going to be the relation between the Father and the Spirit and the Son and the Spirit, which is going to be from spiration. That's how you distinguish it. You're just listing something That's not the way by which we distinguish something.
That's the contention. That's the whole contention.
There's no contention.
Notice
there.
how you just conceded to the argument, and then you thought you did something.
Brother, it's not. There's no concession.
You just said passive generation and passive spiration isn't the means by which you distinguish the Son and Spirit. So what formally constitutes the Son and what formally constitutes the Spirit isn't distinguished.
All you're saying
you just said
is that hold on. All
they're reducible. You have two sons, Jordan. GGs.
All you're saying is that being the Son doesn't distinguish from being the Spirit. That has nothing.
So what formally constitutes the Son is not distinct from what formally constitutes the Spirit. You have two sons.
Being the Son, hold on. Being the Son doesn't distinguish being the Spirit. That's not what distinguishes them.
Amazing. So what formally constitutes the Spirit is not distinct from what formally constitutes the Son.
You're not saying anything of importance.
Oh, okay, amazing. So
what distinguishes them is going to be the relations of opposition.
So do you think I'm contending against the persons being able to be distinct?
Brother, if you're not, all you're doing is just saying, "Oh yeah, we have a father, we have a Son, and we have a Holy Spirit." That's all you're saying.
No, the contention is that passive spiration and passive generation are reducible. So you have two sons.
Brother, you have two sons if there's no spiration from the Son.
That's a two quoque.
How is that a two quoque?
That's just saying and you. That's all a two quoque is. That's not responding to the argument.
I'm explaining my position.
You saying I have two sons if I don't hold to the Filioque doesn't address the issue.
Brother, when you just saying that there's a Son and there's a Spirit, nothing inherently about that establishes a relation between them or a distinction between them. However, when you say something like
passive spiration and passive generation are distinguished. You keep conceding.
I'm trying to help you out so you don't look stupid. Hold on, please. When you say Spirit, right? And you say Son, what the frick how in the world does any of that entail a distinction?
Yeah, so
it doesn't.
We can talk about disparate repugnance.
Hold on.
If you want to talk about, disparate repugnance, that's fine.
Hold on. I'm trying to prove a point. Now, but when you say Father and you say Son, what does that entail? That entails a relational distinction. That's where you get the distinction. Why? Because there's actually a relation of opposition between those two. So you can't just say
you just asserted your own paradigm.
How?
Okay.
What the frick?
You just asserted your own paradigm.
No. Answer the question.
Relative opposition being the only way you can
answer the
distinguish
question.
the persons.
Answer the question.
So why are you asking me questions when you haven't addressed the argument?
Brother, I'm addressing it. You just don't know.
You're not addressing it. We can talk about disparate repugnance at any point in time. But that's not addressing why passive spiration and passive generation aren't distinct.
All right. If you're a father, does that entail something?
That's a red herring.
It's not. I'm just trying to teach you something, bro. Okay. If you're a father, does that entail something? So you just don't want to answer questions, bro. This is the problem.
It's a red herring.
It's not.
You came up so I could ask you about the Filioque, right?
Yes, because I'm trying to explain to you that you have no idea about what relations are. Clearly.
Okay. Sure. Clearly. So whether or not that's the case, doesn't have anything to do with whether or not you can distinguish passive generation from passive spiration.
Brother, it's so irrelevant to what I'm saying. I thought you wanted to actually know like what the belief was so that you wouldn't be bringing up a bad argument.
So I'm asking what's the difference between what formally constitutes the Son and what formally constitutes the Spirit? Brother,
when you have the passive generation, you have the Son, what's automatically entailed is that it's going to have filiation virtually contained.
Okay. You mean spiration?
Yeah, my bad. Spiration virtually contained.
So are you saying that radical filiation is what formally constitutes the Son? Are you changing your position?
You mean radical filiation? What's the difference?
So radical filiation is just saying that the Son is formally constituted by both passive generation and having active spiration.
No, he's the Son.
Oh, okay, amazing. So he's not formally constituted by radical filiation, right?
If that's what you mean by radical, then no.
Okay, so you're not saying so filiation. You saying that that passive or active spiration is virtually contained within filiation doesn't actually change what formally constitutes the Son as being distinguished from what formally constitutes the Spirit.
That's so irrelevant, bro.
How is it irrelevant?
Because that's not how anybody is distinguishing anything.
I mean, that's how I believe we distinguish the persons, is by what formally constitutes them.
So you think there's something like different, like essentially different between?
I don't know what you mean by essentially different.
Okay, in your eyes, what is the difference between the Father and the Son? I mean, not the Father and the Son, but the Son and the Spirit.
Yeah. So active spiration entails a spirated product, right? And active generation entails a begotten product.
And there's a difference between those two?
Yeah.
Okay, what is
to divine revelation?
Okay, so the difference, is that going to be substantial or is it going to be relational?
You said substantial?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, if you just mean like
essence.
Yeah, obviously it's not substantially different.
So it's going to be relationally different.
Depends on what you mean by relationally different.
You don't know what a relation is?
I'm saying it depends on what you mean by that.
Okay, so when you have a relation, you're going to have a subject and a terminus, and you're going to have some foundation for that relation. If that's going to be something that's real, okay? If it's not real, then it's just logical, and then you're going to end up with the same thing.
Yeah, so that's not actually responding to the point. So now,
what do you mean it's not responding?
Yeah,
I'm asking you what.
So
okay.
I can. So do you think it's problematic to say that what distinguishes the Son from the Spirit is divine revelation?
Revelation doesn't distinguish.
So divine revelation doesn't teach you that the Son's different from the Spirit, Jordan?
It wasn't the claim. He didn't say that. He said it teaches you that they're distinct, but it doesn't tell you what the distinction is.
Okay, so do you need to know what the distinction is?
Do you need to know what constitutes that distinction? I mean, not necessarily.
Amazing. So you just conceded.
That's not a concession, bro.
No, it's not a concession. It's the fact that we can deduce.
Hold up. Right? Now,
It's a
Aaron,
1v1.
if you're fine with answering from him as well, that's your business. But they've been going back and forth, one-on-one. I'd like it to keep it that way. Unless, Aaron, you're good with it, that's your business.
I mean, Aaron can bring up somebody else if he wants as well. Like,
No.
matter.
Let's keep it
I just thought
1v1.
I could
Let's keep it
clarify
1v1.
what Arrow was asking
Okay.
and provide a response to what he was
Let's
asking.
keep it 1v1. Like, let's not confuse anyone here.
All right.
We could do whatever Arrow wants since he was the one talking.
Yeah.
No, the reason why I said revelation doesn't distinguish it is because revelation isn't the basis of the distinction itself.
So is revelation the means by which you know the Spirit and the Son exist?
That they exist, yeah.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's the basis of the distinction.
Is it the means by which you know that the Spirit and the Son are distinguished?
That doesn't mean it's the basis of the distinction. Do you understand that?
I asked if it's the means.
Yeah, I don't care what you ask. I'm explaining why I said that revelation isn't the basis of the distinction. Revelation tells us that there's a distinction, right? And so when we look at what exactly the distinction is, that's how we know it either has to be a distinction in relation, which all the fathers are going to talk about, relations of opposition, or it's going to be a distinction in the substance itself.
Okay, so
those are the only two options.
So
we know. So hold on. We know by logic that distinction has to be a relation of opposition. That's it.
Okay.
Now you could say like, oh yeah, I appeal to revelation. Yeah, the only issue is there's going to be some basis in reality as to why they're distinct. And the only two options are either going to be because of the nature or because of a relation. That's it.
Well, that just then assumes that your position is correct. Well, and then the question I would just ask is,
I mean, that's just what the fathers say, bro.
Why is appealing to ignorance something which is like...
just say that you're ignorant on it. That's why we're trying to enlighten you on what that distinction is.
So I just told you we could speak about disparate repugnance, right? But I'm not interested in that conversation. So I'm asking you if there's a problem with saying that because I'm ignorant of the distinction, that there's some distinction which I'm just not aware of, or how I'm able to distinguish.
You're just not aware that it's a real distinction. You're just ignorant. That doesn't
follow.
I'm telling you, you just say you're ignorant on it, right?
Yeah, I'm ignorant on how they're distinguished.
Okay, that's cool. Just say that you're ignorant on it, and we're enlightening you on how. there's actual distinction. There's plenty of people that are ignorant. Like, that's cool. I'm giving you the answer as to what the distinction is. That's all I'm saying.
My bad. Yeah, you said what? I didn't hear you.
Which part?
Like the last like 2 sentences you said.
Okay, you can say that you're ignorant on it. That's cool. However, there is a basis for the distinction, and we see it in the fathers that there's a basis of the distinction. We see all the fathers talking about this filioque. We see them explain all of this stuff. And the only reason that y'all ever even bring up this stuff is because y'all don't even want to go to the codes or any of this stuff. Like,
Okay,
we have
so-
the explanations for this.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask whether or not passive generation is distinguished from passive spiration. And now we got to whether or not I'm able to discern the Son from the Spirit.
You wanted to ask that, I can help answer that.
Yeah, I mean, sure, you can give it a shot if you want.
So, yes, it's going to be the case that they're distinguished, because even though they're not what's called formally relatively opposed, they are radically relatively opposed, in virtue of the fact that filiation is the root of active spiration. So active spiration is contained within filiation.
So that's just
And therefore-
radical filiation.
No, it's not. It's not radical
Can we
filiation.
keep it? Can we keep it 1v1? Like
Okay,
now,
so-
it's like 2v2.
No, that's I told him he can answer. What do you mean? It's fine. Yeah. So what do you take radical filiation to be?
You explained it earlier that the Son is constituted by both relations. And we're not saying that. We're saying that the one relation is contained within the other, not that the Son is constituted by both.
Okay, sure. So the one relation is contained within the other. So insofar as that relation is the Son wholly active, insofar as active spiration.
You repeat that?
Yeah, insofar as the relation the Son has to the Spirit, is he wholly active?
What do you mean, is he wholly active?
Yeah, in relation to the Spirit. So he has active spiration, right?
Yes.
Okay, amazing. So in relation to the Spirit, he's wholly active, right?
If by that you just mean he has active spiration towards the Spirit, then sure.
Okay, amazing. And in relation to what formally constitutes him, which is true of him, he's wholly passive, right? Passive generation.
Spirit? Or are you talking about the Son?
the Son.
Passive generation.
Passive generation.
Filiation is what constitutes the Son. Yes.
Okay, sure. So passive generation, you said, is true of the Son, and insofar as that he's wholly passive, right?
What do you mean by wholly passive? Like he's constituted by passive generation?
Yeah, so his person is passive, right? Because he's begotten of the Father. Whereas distinguishing from the Father's formal constituent as paternity, saying that the Father is wholly active. Because what constitutes the Father is going to be the fact that he produces the Son, right?
Is that something we both agree on, that
Well, I'm
paternity is what
asking-
constitutes the
asking.
Father?
I think the Father's hypostasis is wholly active insofar as the Father is formally constituted by fecundity. But that's still talking about productive
Yes,
power.
I believe that paternity constitutes the Father. But I don't know what you mean by wholly active. Like,
Yeah, so insofar as that relation, the person is active. Right?
well, active is going to be, like, what are we using? What are we meaning by active? That he's
Yeah, it's a
performed-
productive act. Yeah.
so that he's the principle of some productive act.
Yeah,
Sure, he's the principle. The Father's the principle of generation.
sure. And that's what formally constitutes him, right?
Well, what formally constitutes him is the relation that
Yeah, which is
comes
paternity.
out of the generation, which is
Which is
paternity.
paternity. Okay, sure. So just to be clear, you're saying that the Son is wholly passive, wholly passive insofar as what formally constitutes him, right? As being begotten.
If all you mean by wholly passive is that he's constituted by filiation, then yes. But
Okay.
if you mean something different than this, I don't know what you mean by wholly passive.
Yeah, that's so passive generation is just the terminus or the receiving of active generation, right?
It's the terminus of active generation.
Okay. So the Son, insofar as that, is wholly passive, right?
So are you just
person is
saying
wholly
that these are
passive.
synonymous? Like,
His
that what
person
you're
is wholly passive insofar as he's the terminus of an action. He's a terminus of a productive action,
so being wholly passive means that you're the terminus of a productive act.
right?
Okay.
Okay. So
Thanks.
the person of the son is wholly passive, right?
Because he's
Insofar
okay.
as what formally constitutes him.
Sure.
Okay. So saying that, and you believe the son is wholly active insofar as he has act aspiration, right?
And being wholly active just means I'm assuming that you're the principle of productive act.
You're just producing some act, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so you believe the son's wholly passive and wholly active.
Yeah, I believe
Both of
he's
those
the
things are
terminus.
true of the son.
I believe he's, as you define them, he is the terminus of a productive act, and he's also the principle of a productive act. What's the issue?
So the son, what formally constitutes the son is not some productive power. Okay, so what the son is wholly passive. It's not some productive power.
Well, of
And
course,
the
it's not
son-
a power.
And
It's
then
not
the
what
son
constitutes
has
any of the persons.
and then the son has some power which he's producing, which is wholly active, which is intrinsic to him and hypostatic, right?
Are you saying the power is wholly active?
Yeah, because it's productive, right? That's all I mean by it's active, is that it's a productive power.
Okay. So what's the issue?
We've already established. So you're saying the son is wholly passive and wholly active.
And are you saying this to imply that they contradict in some way?
Yeah, that's what's
Okay.
entailed.
So did you not tell me that wholly passive meant that he's the terminus of a productive act?
Yeah, sure.
And wholly active means he's the principle of a...
But that's just saying that it's true of him, right?
So then there's no contradiction because there's no
So the
statement.
son's wholly passive insofar as his person, as being formally constituted.
Yeah, but those two are not negating each other as you defined them.
So wholly active as being the terminus of an act, and as being the producing some action or being the productive power of some like terminus, and then being wholly passive as being the terminus of some productive power isn't opposing. So you can be the terminus of your own act.
Sorry, I'm getting calls. No, you can't be the terminus of you can't be the principle of the act which you are the terminus for. That's not what we're saying with respect to the son.
So you said they're not opposing though.
I'm saying being the principle of one productive act and bringing the terminus of another.
That's true of his person, right?
Not opposing. It's not opposing.
That's true of his person, right?
That he's the principle of the spirit and
active and passive.
Father.
That's true of his person.
If all you mean is that he is begotten and he is spirator, then yeah.
Okay, so the son is active, according to, and he has some productive power, right? And then he's also the terminus, according to his person, right?
So I'm still.
So it's true that the son is active and passive.
Okay.
Okay, and you agreed that those are opposing, right?
I don't think I did I?
Yeah, you did, because you said you can't be the terminus of your own act.
But that's not what you're saying. That's not what
passive generation. That's what being passive is saying that you're the terminus.
Yeah, but he is the terminus of intellection. He is not.
He's the terminus. His person is.
He is not the principle of intellection. He's the principle of volition. So they're not the same act.
Okay, that's not the contention.
You just said you can't be the principle and terminus of the same act.
No,
I'm saying it's not the same act.
Right, you said they're opposing, right? So being active, having some productive power, and being the terminus are opposing relations, right?
Having a power and being the terminus are opposing relations?
No, you said no. So that's not what I said. So I asked you if you agreed that productive power, right, which is being the active production of some terminus, is in opposition to the terminus of the act. So the passive generation in this case.
Sure.
And that's true of the son, right?
Yes.
Passive generation is true, and being active is true of the son, right?
Yeah, but not in the same sense. So
Okay,
what's
so what distinguishes the respects?
the fact that one is he is the terminus of intellection, and he's the principle of the volition.
Okay, so is the Son identical to active spiration?
Yes.
Is the Son identical to passive generation?
Yep.
And those two terms are opposing?
Nope.
So you said being active, so having some productive power, and being passive, which is being some terminus, is not opposing?
Nope.
Okay, so you can be the terminus for your own act.
It's not what I said. I think I've clearly established a few times already that they're two different acts.
Okay, so you just said that being active and being passive, you just agreed that they're not distinguished. Or sorry,
you have to be
opposed.
the principle and the terminus in the same respect. Simply being a principle and being a terminus is not contradictory.
Okay, so is the Son identical to being active?
He's identical to being the active principle.
So he's identical to being
of the
active, right?
spiration.
So his person is active.
His person is an active principle of the
So his
spirit.
person is active.
But you're
So
just
he's identical to being active, right?
You can't just stop it at active because I'm qualifying.
So
it,
his
you
person
don't.
is active, right?
Yes, with
Okay,
respect
and his
to the
person's
Spirit,
passive, right?
with respect to the Father
So his person's active and his person's passive, right?
in
By
different
identity.
respects. So it's not a contradiction.
What distinguishes the different respects?
One is in relation to the Father, the other is in relation to the Spirit.
That's not addressing the point of his person.
All right. So I tell you what distinguishes that, and that's not addressing it.
No, it's not addressing what's distinguished from his person.
All right, bro. Well, I think I've sufficiently answered the question.
I mean, you didn't.
Cool. I think that.
So you're just saying that active spiration is towards something else, but it's still identified with his person, right?
I mean, that's how relations work. Someone can be a son and be a father at the same time. They just can't be the son of themselves or the father of themselves.
Okay, so all you're saying is active spiration is towards something else, but that's not contending.
Active spiration, it's towards something
It's towards the
different
spirits. Yeah, it's
than
towards
what
the spirit.
filiation is towards.
But it's
That's the whole
identical.
point.
It's identical to the Son, right?
Yes, both in the Son.
Okay, so the Son is wholly active, and the Son is wholly passive because he's identical to passive generation and active spiration.
All you said, wholly passive and wholly active, means is that he's the terminus and he's a principle.
Okay, and those are identified with him, right?
Okay.
So the Son's person is wholly active and wholly passive, right, Abe?
Bro, all you're saying is that the person of the Son is not really different from the principle of the Spirit, but it's also not really different from the terminus of the Father's relation.
You're not actually engaging with the point.
I am. You're trying to
No,
say there's
you're
some
not.
contradiction in the terms.
Yeah,
when
that's
there
what's
isn't.
entailed.
So what's the direct statement and its negation? Go ahead.
The fact that the Son is identified with being some productive power, and the Son is identified with not being some productive power.
In what case is he not identified with being a productive power?
Passive
because of the
generation.
power? Passive generation?
Yeah.
What? Power
Is passive generation a productive power?
Is passive generation a productive power? No, not
Yeah.
formally.
And so he's identified with being a productive power, and he's not identified with being a productive power.
Oh my days, are we being for real? We're saying he's identified with being a productive power in this respect, and he's not identified as a productive power
So
in this
what
other.
distinguishes the respects in the person
So
prior
what-
to intellect?
What distinguishes, bro? Why are you talking about prior to intellect? It's
Yeah.
not going to be a real distinction.
Right, exactly. Okay, so there's not a real distinction between the Son being wholly passive and the Son being wholly active.
Okay, is that
So
Do you
prior
think
to
there's a real-
intellect, the Son is wholly active and wholly passive.
in different respects?
What distinguishes the respects prior to intellect?
There is no real distinction prior to.
Okay, so nothing distinguishes the respects prior to intellect. So the Son is wholly passive and wholly active.
Okay. So let me give you an example. Is the Son really distinguished from the divine essence prior to intellect?
If by all you mean by really distinguished is prior to intellect, then yeah.
So prior to the intellect, the Son and the divine essence are two different things.
I don't believe they're two different things. I don't think that's what real distinction is.
Bro.
No, real distinction just means there's some discernibility prior to intellection. I don't think that means there's two res.
Oh my days.
Is the Son's human nature distinguished from his divine nature prior to intellect?
Yes.
Is there two res in Christ?
Two things?
Yeah, two res.
Two beings or two things?
Yeah, two res.
So two things.
Two realities, yeah.
Well, it seems so. If you mean by
There's two realities in Christ, yo, you're a Nestorian.
All right. See, now we're conflating. Now we're saying, I said the two res are the two natures. Is that Nestorian?
Yes, to say that Christ is two realities is Nestorianism.
If I'm saying that the two realities in this case are the two natures.
Wait, what do you think a reality is?
A thing?
A thing. Okay, so the natures are different things.
Well, they're different natures, or natures are things.
But natures are, okay, so Christ is two beings.
No, I wouldn't say Christ is two.
Okay,
beings.
what is a res then?
I keep getting calls from my girlfriend. I couldn't hear what you just said.
Yeah, I said, what is a res?
A res is just used to refer to thing.
Okay, and thing is meant by, what is meant by thing?
Alright, bro. Something that, bro, what do you mean?
Something that exists, so a being, right, Abe? You just stopped yourself. You realize.
Something that exists. It's a thing.
Okay, so that's a being, right?
I mean, yeah, I guess something.
Okay, so Christ is two beings?
No, I wouldn't say Christ is two
Oh, so he's
beings.
not two res, right?
I would say Christ has two natures, and the natures.
So he's not two res, right?
Christ himself is not two res.
Okay, so are Christ's two natures two res?
Well, it seems so. It seems to be the case that his two
Okay,
natures are.
so Christ's two natures are two different beings.
Okay. And then?
Is that what you believe?
That his two natures are two really distinct natures.
They're two really distinct beings, because you said they're two really distinct res.
And what is entailed by them being two really distinct things?
By saying they're two really distinct things, you said they're two different states of existence or two beings.
Okay, so
right? You said a being. You said a res is just a being. So you said Christ's two natures are two different beings, Abe.
So Christ, before the consideration of our intellects, his human nature and his divine nature are not really distinct.
So that's not. So I don't believe that saying there's a real distinction means that there's two beings, Abe.
Okay, bro. So are the persons really distinct?
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that they're necessarily three different persons.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that there's multiple beings, right?
Well, if you by beings, you're referring to the substance, the essence. No.
Yeah, you don't mean there's multiple res, right? So saying something is distinguished prior to intellection doesn't mean that there's multiple res, right?
Yeah, but I mean, if we're talking about
Okay, amazing. So me saying that the Son and the essence are distinguished prior to intellect is not saying that they're two res, right, Abe?
I think that the Son, the human nature and the
right,
divine
Abe?
nature are two really distinct things.
I didn't ask. Okay, so you believe Christ is two beings. Amazing.
No, because again, I don't believe.
Is the human nature intrinsic to Christ?
Is it? What do we? What are we defining as intrinsic here? It exists?
It exists in Christ.
Well, obviously.
Okay, so it's in Christ and it's a distinct thing from the divine nature, which is identified with Christ, right?
Well, I think there'd be a distinction actually, because I think we would say that the nature, or that Christ exists in the nature. Right?
Okay, so I'm going to ask again. So the human nature is intrinsic to Christ, and the divine nature is also intrinsic to Christ, and they're two really distinct things, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't be really distinct.
So Christ is two beings. GG's.
No, because Christ, we're signifying the person. I don't think the person is two beings. I mean, that's the whole point.
You said that they're Christ is in the human nature is intrinsic to Christ, and the divine nature is identified with Christ.
That doesn't mean the human nature is identical to Christ.
Saying that there's two, I didn't say identical. It doesn't
And
matter.
that's what you're. And that's
But
what
they're
you
both
have to
in
say.
Christ, right?
And that's what you have to
And they're
say.
two different. They're two really distinct things.
Yes, of course the nature.
Okay, amazing. So you believe Christ is two beings?
No, because the natures are not identical to Christ.
Oh, okay, the
human
divine nature is not identical to Christ?
The divine nature is not.
Okay, is the human nature?
The human nature is not identical to Christ.
Is it self-subsistent?
The human nature is not self-subsistent.
Okay, so is it a different being from Christ, or is it the same being?
It's not identical to Christ, so it's not.
Is it a different? It's not the same being. Okay, so it is self-subsistent.
What? No,
It's if you said it's a distinct being from Christ and it's self-subsistent.
Am I self-subsistent because I'm different than God?
Yes.
All right, bro.
Yes, you're self-subsistent. What?
So I don't only exist in virtue of God sustaining me to exist.
What do you think self-subsistence is?
Are you just saying that?
Do you think it means you sustain yourself?
What time, bro? Damn.
I'm just saying that if by self-subsistence you mean that something doesn't exist in anything else, then sure.
Oh, yeah, it just means you stand alone. Like you stand independent of some other.
But the human nature is not that.
Okay, so right. Okay, so Christ isn't a different being, right? He's not self-subsistent. So the human nature is not a different being from Christ.
Something has to be its own substance. So the human nature is not even a substance according to you.
I didn't say that.
What's
But I asked you if it's a distinct being.
Can we go now?
Yes. I have to go soon, but yeah, I mean, if by being here, we're just meaning
You said res, right?
yes.
So when Saint Cyril says that Christ is one composite reality, what does that mean? Or one incarnate nature of God, the Word, what does that mean?
I don't know. I'm not studied on Cyril's Christology.
So you haven't read on Christology and you're saying Christ is two beings? And you know that his Christology
I never
is...
said Christ is two beings. I told you multiple times. I'm saying Christ is two beings. That's what
Okay,
you tried
so
to say.
the human nature is really distinct from Christ, and it's its own being, right?
The human nature is really distinct from Christ, but I never.
And it's its own being, right?
I never said that it has its own subsistence.
Are you done?
It's its own being, though, right?
You're driving.
Okay.
So then,
Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, just
Let's go.
yeah, it's cool, man. If your girl is saying you gotta go, it's all good, man. God bless.
I mean, if you want to continue Arrow with Jordan, if he's up for it, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't mind him if he wants to continue.
So, do you have another question? I don't know if it's gonna.
Do you have a response to the argument that saying Christ is identified with being wholly active and wholly passive prior to intellect?
Abe already answered that.
No, he didn't.
He didn't,
He said there's no distinguishment between the Son being passive,
bro. When you
according
have
to
a
his person,
conscience,
identified with being passive according to his person, and identified with being active according to his person prior to intellect. He conceded.
so can you explain what a contradiction is?
Yeah, a proposition and its negation. The Son is identified with being productive power or having productive power prior to intellect.
Hold on, and it has to be in the same way, right?
Okay, I'm asking what distinguishes the respects prior to intellect.
Hold on, bro. It has to be in the same way, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what distinguishes the
So
respects
when he
prior
said
to
that he's
intellect?
hold on. So when he said he's passive in regards to that he comes forth from the Father,
Okay, and that's
and
identified with this person prior to intellect.
and he's
Right.
active. Hold on, and he's active in a different way, i.e., that the Spirit comes forth from the Son. How are you saying that that's a contradiction?
Yeah, so the reason why is the Son is identified with being active insofar as he has some productive power, okay? And that's identified with his person, right? Prior to intellect?
How is it a contradiction? Just explain.
I'm
how it's a
asking. I won't
Brother,
clarify.
just
If you
explain
agreed,
how it's
I'm
a
asking if you
brother.
agreed with Abe.
Please, for the love of God,
I'm asking
just
if you agree with
explain
Abe.
how it's a contradiction.
I'm asking if you agree with Abe.
Just explain. How
I just want to know if you agree with Abe prior to intellect.
Bro, just explain.
I just
how
want to
it's
know
a
if you agree with your
contradiction.
guy, man. I just want to know. So
Just
prior to
explain how it's a contradiction, bro.
I just want to know. I just want to be clear.
Bro, just give the contradiction.
Christ is identified with having some productive power prior to intellect and not having some productive power prior to intellect.
How is it a contradiction? Is it in the same
Proposition
way?
and negation. I just gave you the context.
In the same way, in the same sense?
So saying that the productive power is towards some other doesn't change what the thing is identified with, which is Christ's person.
What does that have to do with it being a contradiction?
It's identified with Christ's person. It's true of Christ prior to intellect that he's passive and active.
It's true that Christ comes forth from somebody and produces somebody. What the frick? How is that a contradiction?
Mercy. So prior to intellect, Christ's person is active, right? Insofar as he has some productive
Brother, you're
power.
repeating the same thing, bro.
Because you're not engaging.
Brother, you don't even know what a contradiction is anymore, bro.
I just told you what a contradiction is.
You did not explain
and you're not getting
how
out of
this
the
is a
contradiction.
Brother, this is so crazy. Is this what not believing in Philly does? Brother,
Notice how you're not engaging?
How is it not engaging, bro?
You just said, is this what not believing in the Filioque gets you? Yeah, it gets you out of contradictions, Jordan.
Brother, it's not a contradiction.
Okay, tell me how it's not a contradiction.
Because he's passive, meaning he comes forth from the Father, is different than when the Spirit comes forth from the Son.
Yeah, so he's just towards something else, right?
Brother, if he's passive in one way, and
so
he's
what distinguishes
active,
the respects prior to intellect?
Just answer this question. Just answer this question. Is he passive in one way and then active in a different way?
Yeah, so what you mean by that?
Is it yes? Is it a yes?
I'll answer. Right?
Is it a yes?
Answer or
I
no?
just need a yes and then
not
explain.
A yes or no question. Do you want me to
yes
answer?
And then explain?
It's not a yes or no question.
Yes or no and then explain.
Do you want me to answer the question or no?
I just need a yes.
It's not
and
a
then
yes
explain.
or no question.
But you can't answer whether it's a
not a yes or no question.
Brother, this is like.
Do you want me to answer? So
brother,
just
go ahead.
So here,
brother,
I'll explain why you're not understanding the argument. You want me to explain why you're not understanding the argument, Jordan?
Just go ahead, bro.
Thank you. Okay. So when you say that it's in different respects, presumably what you mean by that is there's some distinguished formal aspects. But prior to intellect, there isn't some distinguished formal aspect. Okay? Because you said passive generation and active spiration are only virtually distinct. Right?
So can I just explain?
I mean, he's not gonna get it, bro. This is a basic contradiction, bro. He's trying to explain like
exactly. It's a basic contradiction. That's the point.
No. I'm trying to explain what a basic contradiction is, bro. And he doesn't even understand that this is not a contradiction.
No. So Arrow, instead of saying
Jordan, like if you don't want to continue with the conversation, you're not held to, brother. So
I just want people to understand what the frick a contradiction is. I didn't think we had to argue like Muslims here.
Wait, can you tell me how I'm arguing like a Muslim?
Because you don't know what a contradiction is.
Okay, did I define what a contradiction was?
You did, and then did not explain how this is a contradiction.
I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
I said it's true of Christ that he's identified with productive power.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it's true of Christ that he's not identified with productive power.
Okay, and are those in two different ways? Hold on, are those in two different ways?
Prior to intellect, no.
Those are not in two different ways?
Not prior to intellect.
So him coming forth from the Father is not different than him producing somebody?
So it's towards something else, but it's not distinguished prior to intellect. That's the point, right? It's virtually distinct, right?
It's not even real, bro.
Jordan, is it virtually distinct, Jordan? Yes or no?
Bro, I don't even know how to explain this junk to you, bro.
You don't know how to explain it. Exactly, GG.
Let's wrap this up. He can't answer your question. It's done. I think Arrow was too difficult to deal with.
Elijah was trying to say something, but his mic was just low.
Yes, 2-0 for Arrow.
Like, we can't really hear you.
Yeah, you're mad quiet.
Elijah, it sounds like it's muffled. You may have something covering it.
Can you hear me now or no?
Yeah, that's better. That's better.
Yeah.
All right, so Arrow,
Go with the 3-0.
instead of saying something like wholly active and wholly passive, just don't use those words at all. Just say what you mean. So you're just saying that, okay, the Son is like the principle, and in some respect, he like generates or something. So then
The Son is identified with having productive power and not having productive power according to his person.
in the same respect.
So prior to intellect, yes.
What does that have to do with it being in the same respect?
Yeah, prior to intellect, you can't get out of the contradiction.
So prior to the intellect, the Son both has productive power, meaning that he has active spiration, and he has filiation, generation.
He has passive generation, he has active spiration, and both of those are identified with this person, right?
What is that a contradiction?
You said what?
That's just not a contradiction.
Your microphone is bad.
Yeah, you're not getting out of the contradiction.
No, that's just not a contradiction. That's not like you're saying I'm not getting out of something. That's not a contradiction.
Yeah, so Christ is identified with having productive power and not having productive power. His person is identified with this, right?
No, that's not the case. So
Is Christ identical to active spiration?
So no one is saying that Christ does not have active power.
Is he identical to active spiration?
Hold on, everybody's saying that they can't hear me at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't find any headphones. But no one is saying that Christ does not have productive power. So, but
Okay.
It doesn't seem like I could talk.
Okay, so I just want to be clear. Is Christ identical to active spiration?
Does it sound a little better or no?
Yeah, it's a bit better.
It's horrible. Like, we can't hear you.
Yeah, it's muffled. Did Elijah drop or is he coming back up?
Could you repeat what was contradictory? Because in one hand,
I'm not interested in discussing with it.
Wait, Danny, we're not interested in you. But just keep
I'm not
talking.
interested in discussing it.
oh, a bunch of losers. Right, I'm trying to mediate, right? Because there was a point where it did sound
Can you drop this
contradictory.
guy? Wait, host, can you drop this guy, by the way?
I have no idea who he is. Danny, are you a Catholic, Orthodox? What's up?
He's an atheist.
I'm a Catholic at heart.
Okay.
Yeah, just
He's LARPing, bro. He's LARPing. Just,
all right. Danny, I'm just for the sake of moving on. We don't need an atheist.
Yeah, y'all are not
mediate.
getting
God bless
anywhere, and so
God
I was
bless you,
going to
though. Okay. Well, I don't need. Thank you. I will run it how I see fit. God bless you. Have a great day, though.
Hey, if you guys need atheists to solve your problems, that's fine, man. That's cool with me, man.
nasty work, man.
Well, if nobody else, wants to discuss,
Did we lose Elijah?
It's over, man.
Yeah, I don't know if he's coming back.
Yeah, all right. Well, God bless, guys. I'm not sure.
3-0.
All right.
Hey, man, Christ is two beings. Like okay with me, man. I mean, that is the Thomistic position. They do believe that Christ is two suppositum. So,
Arrow,
God bless
great job. Yeah, God bless.